Thank you to MPB for sponsoring today's video. The Ricoh GR III was released in 2019, and 2 years later they released this, the Ricoh GR IIIx. Basically the same camera, but with a different lens. That makes the underlying tech 5.5 years old by now. Usually that means people are getting ready to shoot it and bury it in the backyard because they are itching for an upgrade. But for the past 5 years I have seen people all over the internet claiming that this is as close to the perfect camera as it gets. After taking a healthy swig from my skepticism juice, I decided I'm gonna put that to the test. So I took it on a trip to Malta. Malta is such a unique place to photograph because over the past 3,000 years or so, pretty much any empire worth their morally questionable salt trade went, that's a nice rock in the ocean you got there. Would be a shame if somebody were to, invade that. Okay, that was just a very convoluted way of saying that there are a ton of cultural influences from all over the world that you can find in Malta. From classic British telephone booths and traffic that will run you over while you're looking in the wrong direction, to Italian architecture and Arabic influences. I don't see that many photographers going to Malta, but in my eyes it's definitely worth a visit. By the way, all of the images you see in this video are edited with my Cinematic Street Essentials Lightroom presets. If you want your images to have a look and feel just like mine, and you're in the mood to help me keep this channel running, picking up one of my preset packs is the best way to do both of those things at the same time. I'm gonna leave a heavy discount for you at the link down in the description. There was this super beautiful street in Valletta that had a bunch of pretty lights above. I easily spent like 20 minutes here during the daytime and decided to come back when it was dark. For some reason this street was constantly wet even though it didn't rain, but that made for some great reflections. And then this old Buick drove past, which was like the stars aligning, but honestly I feel like I fumbled the ball on the goal line here. This image has some motion blur because I didn't get my settings right in time, and in the second image the car just isn't prominent enough. If I had just been a bit quicker, I probably could have gotten a way better image. Honestly, if you like your images on the warmer side, Malta is like photography on easy mode. We pretty much had blue skies for a week straight, and these sandstone colored buildings with bright colors and interesting textures everywhere, they were so fun to photograph. So people say the Ricoh GR IIIx is the perfect camera, but what even makes a perfect camera? Some people would of course say it has to have a 1 to 1000mm lens, add an f0.9 aperture, shoot a million FPS and have a 1 billion megapixel sensor. But other people have a lot more subjective definitions. Some say the perfect camera is the one you have with you, while others say it's the camera that enables you to get the best photos you can. Some say it's the camera that is the most fun, or a camera that challenges you creatively. For me, it's kind of a combination of all of these. But then of course there are analog photographers who all just agree the perfect camera is the one that doesn't shard its 50-year-old self the second you need it most. From a technical standpoint, this of course isn't the best camera on the market. There are loads of cameras out there with bigger sensors, higher resolution, and more weight in all the right places to make me look like the big professional I pretend to be. But what the GR IIIx is simply the best at is delivering amazing quality in a form factor that no other camera can deliver. It's insanely small. Like seriously, people who call cameras like the Fuji X100VI portable look like idiots when you pull this out at the small camera competition. It is actually pocket-sized. So the next time you go to a party, people will ask, is that a Ricoh GR IIIx Urban Edition in your pocket, or are you just excited to see me? But despite its incredibly small size, the image quality is shockingly good. The fact that Ricoh managed to fit a 3-axis stabilized 24 megapixel APS-C sensor into this tiny body is mind-blowing to me. Fun fact, this gigantic camera sensor is the same size as the Ricoh's. It's about 15 years older, but it's nice to appreciate how far we've come. But of course, we all know the size of the camera doesn't make the photographer professional. The make or break criteria is whether or not you show up to the shoot with the SD card still in your computer at home. Yeah, that has happened to me more often than I'd like to admit. But in that case, the GR IIIx actually has you covered because it features 2 gigs of internal storage, which isn't a lot, but definitely better than going home empty-handed. After the sun had disappeared behind the polygon mesh, that is Earth, in this simulation we live in, the next morning we started walking to the ferry that takes you across to the 3 cities.
I just keep on staring at my phone.
When you turn on the camera, the 26mm f2.8 lens gets really excited to see you. In full frame terms, it's equivalent to 40mm, which is great for taking pictures of the people you paid to be your friends, for street photography, and just general walking around travel photography. 40mm probably is my favorite all-around focal length. I say probably because I have lens commitment issues and go back and forth on what my favorite is, but 40mm is definitely the sweet spot for a lot of situations. The lens is extremely sharp, you get a shocking amount of detail. Most manufacturers have already moved on to higher resolution sensors, but 24 megapixel in my opinion is more than enough. Also, as somebody who subscribes to the belief that spray and pray is a valid photography technique, I'm glad it keeps the file sizes manageable. The f2.8 aperture allows you to get some decent subject separation, making it great for some candid portraits. The autofocus was pretty snappy and allows for face and eye detection, but it's definitely not as good as you might be used to from more modern professional offerings. One huge win of the GR IIIx is the fact that despite the tiny size, you get a bunch of physical dials and buttons to manually adjust your settings. You get 3 dials in total, one on the front, one on the back, and one around the D-pad. I usually spend 90% of my time in aperture priority mode using the back dial to set exposure compensation. I spent the other 10% of my life being absolute dog shit in video games. Quickly being able to change your settings is something you just don't want to compromise on, and Ricoh did a great job with the physical controls here. It's hard to say something negative about this camera because it's just so impressive and unique. There really isn't anything else like it on the market. But of course, at this size, there are some trade-offs that had to be made. There are 3 main things you need to compromise on if your heart, understandably, yearns for a Ricoh GR. First, no viewfinder. For me, this isn't a big issue. I have no problem using a camera without a viewfinder, but I've heard from a lot of people that this fact alone is a deal breaker for them. Second, battery life isn't great. The camera being tiny as well as being packed to the brim with fancy tech means the batteries are also tiny. I made the very big mistake of only bringing a single battery for this trip. Luckily, you can charge it with USB-C, and I had a power bank with me to charge it whenever the battery indicator got angry at me. But if you're buying one, definitely get some extra batteries. Third, no flash. Well, I don't really care about the lack of a viewfinder. The lack of a built-in flash kind of hit me hard. I really love the look of using a direct flash to take photos of people, and the form factor of this camera is pretty much exactly that old Digicam form factor. I really hope that if we ever get a Ricoh GR IV, they'll bring back the built-in flash. And you know what else I hope somebody brings back? This segue to today's sponsor, MPB. MPB is a platform that allows you to buy, sell, and trade used photography gear. You don't have to deal with sketchy sellers or buyers. All items are tested by their professionals and individually photographed from all sides, so you know exactly what you're getting. And probably the best thing is you get a warranty on the used gear you buy from them. Not many people know this, but in a lot of cases MPB actually has prices that match or are even lower than on used marketplaces. But of course, with MPB you'll have a warranty and don't have to worry that some seller is just gonna send you their favorite rock instead of the camera you wired them money for. MPB were nice enough to let me borrow the Ricoh GR IIIx for this trip, and if you want a fun and small camera yourself, why don't you just trade in some of your gear you don't need anymore? On MPB you can get a quote for your camera gear in a matter of minutes. That gear you've got sitting around gathering dust might be worth more than you think. So whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, I'll leave a link down in the description that lets them know I've sent you. Okay, let's get back to the video.
I lay awake at night because all I seem to think about is you. Can I stay for a while? 'Cause I don't know any better. I should say something clever, but I can't think whatsoever. Because my logic's out the window when I'm sitting next to you. Go ahead and break my heart if you want to, but stay for a while if that's okay with you.
After once again the sun had disappeared behind the cuboid that is Earth, the next day we made our way to the city of Medina. While I could tell you that this used to be Malta's capital and has enormous historic and cultural value, I'm not gonna do that, and just be honest that the only reason we went there was because they filmed parts of Game of Thrones there. We headed to the south of the island to see the sunset over the cliffs, but for some reason I was more fascinated with this huge antenna station thing than with the actual cliffs. After the sun had dipped below the space frisbee that is our flat Earth, I got some of the best images of the entire trip. In a lot of ways, I think the Ricoh GR IIIx actually is the perfect camera for so many people. So often when I meet new people, the conversation goes something like this. They'll ask what I do and I go on an absolute monologue for like 20 minutes about my extremely unhealthy photography obsession, and halfway through they'll just walk away. But the people that for some reason don't walk away and do everything in their power to stay far away from me for the rest of the evening often say something along the lines of, I love photography, I have an older DSLR camera from my insert relative here, but I never use it because it's just annoying to take with me. I've literally heard that exact sentiment so often, and I totally get it. Lugging around a huge camera and lenses is a big turnoff for people that aren't super invested in the hobby, and I think a camera like the GR IIIx is perfect for these people. A camera that never gets in the way and just allows you to focus on photography. People that are seasoned photographers often don't have a problem with lugging around a big camera because we've just become used to it. But I think for many people, a camera that minimizes the barrier of just picking it up and taking it with you is extremely important. It being small, inconspicuous, and having an almost silent leaf shutter isn't just great for street photography. I think it has a huge effect on the social dynamic you experience as a photographer. When taking photos at events or at a social gathering, shoving a big professional looking camera into somebody's face just feels weird for both sides, and using your phone has even worse social implications. Comparing it to the Fujifilm X100VI, I feel like for many people the Ricoh might be the better choice. Don't get me wrong, the X100VI is great. It has a viewfinder, a built-in flash, a higher resolution sensor and better IBIS, but you also can't buy one. It's on back order for like over 6 months, and if you want to buy one used, you'll likely be paying over $1,000 more than for a used GR IIIx. Yes, you'll have to live without a viewfinder, but the image quality difference between the two cameras isn't actually that big. I personally like the 40mm field of view more than 35, and the much smaller size of the Ricoh is a huge plus. This week in Malta with the GR IIIx showed me that it kind of is the perfect camera. Not for the professional and maybe not for the tech nerd who wants top of the line specs, but just for normal humans who like photography and want a camera that they can take everywhere to capture fun moments, travel, or to the next 5-day World of Warcraft LAN. I don't know, it's really up to you what you do in your free time, though that Kind of sounds like a blast. Cameras nowadays, they try to do everything, but the GR IIIx feels different. It focuses on exactly one thing, getting you the best image quality while being so small that the barrier to take it with you when you leave the house is effectively zero. Ricoh chose this one philosophy and they stuck to it. And that alone makes the GR IIIx one of the best photography experiences you can get. You know what else is one of the best experiences you can get? Watching another one of my videos. Okay, I take that back. That's way too much pressure.